Let's take an athlete through the progression of sliding a box 50-50 all the way to grinding a rail 90 degrees and doing 270 out. When having someone brand new, it's smart to take them to inspect a feature, showing them where the snow ends and where the feature starts, that the feature is slightly angled downhill, so it will be slippery. You might want to talk a little bit about what it's made of and how slippery it is, and then that at the end of the feature there will be a little bit of drop off that they will be coming off of, and that the pitch of the landing is downhill and that they'll want to match their skis to the slope of the landing. We're going to start with having the student ride 50-50 over the box. Take your student to an appropriate spot where they can turn and just go straight and they won't need a speed check at all. One of the biggest things to teach as a coach is to help students gauge their speed appropriately depending on the feature that is being hit. Discuss the proper stance in which you want them to maintain as they go 50-50 across the box, that their feet are a little bit wider, that they definitely do not have a pizza or they will do the splits, that their knees are bent and over their bindings, their ankles are bent and their shins are engaged against the front of their boot, that their hands are out in front of them and their head is up. Maintaining this stance throughout the entire feature. Make sure they can go across the box smooth holding this stance before you move on to the next step. Next is showing them where the snow ends and where the feature starts, and that you want them to pop off the snow onto the feature, then pop off the feature onto the landing. Ensure that they learn how to pop right at the end of the snow. This will help them when they start turning 90 degrees. Alright, let's get the athlete grinding the box sideways. Have them step out onto the jump at 90 degrees and walk out onto the feature. Point out that you'll want to have your legs wide, your edges very flat on the feature, and having a proper stance, facing slightly forward and looking at the end of the feature. Have them slightly shuffle across the box to get a feel of sliding. Help each student do this whether they are sliding goofy or regular. Now they're ready to pop off the end of the snow, turn 90 degrees, slide the box, pop at the end of the box, and turn back down the hill. Again, start them in a spot where they can turn straight to the feature and won't have to speed check. Get a lot of reps in on both short and long boxes until they look really comfortable, similar to this demo, and then you're ready to move on. Next will be coming off switch, so teach them that they'll square their shoulders up a little bit more to the front of their skis, allow themselves to come around, then pop off and turn backwards. Next we'll want to prep them for coming into a feature switch. We'll want to talk about coming switch, putting their knees over their bindings, really good flex and stance of course, then slightly turning their shoulders, putting their head and eyes down their shoulder and looking straight down the line. Do a lot of skiing backwards till they get really comfortable at doing this both over the left shoulder and then also over the right shoulder. Take the time to lock each student into the proper stance so that they practice correctly. When they're coming into a box switch, make sure that they have a proper stance and that the weight is over the balls of their feet, so as they pop, they're popping off the balls of their feet and turning 90. In most cases, they'll need multiple repetitions in order to be patient and pop right at the end of the jump. Keep on them so that they're continually practicing one of these grinds and no longer 50-50 onto the feature. Also make sure that each time that they're hitting it, they're lining the feature up straight and they're not coming right to left or left to right. This will prepare them in hitting skinnier features in which they need to line up the feature in between their legs. All the same skills apply, so if you built the foundation correctly, they'll come in with a wide stance, they'll pop off the end of the jump, they'll commit to turning all the way 90, land centered on the feature with a nice wide stance, and then pop off the end and turn straight. Transition will then be very easy in lining rails up in between their legs, committing to that 90 and really locking themselves onto the rail. You can then do all the same progressions on a rail such as this that's low to the ground and kind of wide. Straight on, straight off, straight on, switch off, switch on, straight off, switch on, switch off. Whether you taught it before or waited until now we're kind of ready for that 270 out. In my opinion, it's a little bit easier to get gription on a rail rather than a box to be able to do 270 out. So it'd be a good time for them to learn how to engage that edge and 270 out. We of course wouldn't do the first one on a big feature like this, but this will show us an example of how to lock our edge in the ski so that we pretzel front side 270 out. In some cases, the student may prefer to do a continuous backside 270 out. Help the student find what works best for them.